Hello, and welcome to this year's EnCrypted Halloween Big Bash, where we'll be sharing truly dreadful stories from the pages of Britain's top women's supernatural magazine, or at least the top one since they stopped doing Chat It's Fate. Yes, we'll be telling some stories from Take a Break, Fate and Fortune magazine. Some new ones, as well as some classics from the archive. And listen, I was going to try and do a kind of new story for Halloween, and things just didn't work out for me in the end. So that's why we're doing this. Hopefully it's a bit of fun for you. And if it's not your thing, that's fine. Another proper encrypted story will be along quite soon, I'm sure. But for now, if you like these hopefully funny stories, then enjoy the show. I've got something nice bubbling away in the cauldron, and listen, fresh body on the rack there. So without further ado, let's go on and discover more horrors from the pages of Take a Break, Fate and Fortune. Okay, so let's kick off with this one then. Girl's trip with a goblin. After a seriously weird weekend away, it says, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed me home. And it's from Jordan Linthwaite, aged 80. And it's from Jordan Linthwaite, aged 30. Stepping into the pool, I felt my shoulders drop. This weekend's going to be fantastic, I told my mum-in-law. As a group of friends and family, we'd come on a girly getaway to a spa. The spa was in the base of a beautiful old mill, and we'd rented one of the adjoining apartments for the night. I'd volunteered to sleep on one of the sofa beds in the living room. Though I fell asleep quickly after dinner, bit of a liquid dinner there, do you think, folks? Though I fell asleep quickly, I found myself wide awake at 5:30 a.m. No matter how much I tossed and turned, I just couldn't get comfortable. The pool wasn't yet open. Well, going for a swim's not going to help you get back to sleep, love. So I decided the pool wasn't open, so I decided to scroll on my phone until the others were up. Back on the sofa bed, I propped up my head on my hand and opened TikTok. But after a short while, I felt a strange tickling sensation at the back of my head and arm. Imagining it was a spider, I jerked round. It was dark, but I could just make out the outline of something behind the sofa, which sat about 2 feet from the wall. What I saw looked like the top half of a head. It's probably just a weird shadow, I thought. Yeah, probably. I sat there staring at it for what felt like a long time. Heart racing, I told myself it was a trick of the light. Hesitantly, heart racing, I told myself it was just a trick of the light. Hesitantly, I lay back down. But at that moment, the head rose up and peered over me, and its eyes were black hollows in its skull, while its mouth was crammed with awful jagged teeth, and its skin was grey and almost shiny. Terrified, I screamed at the top of my lungs. Jordan, what's wrong? Said the girl on the other sofa. I leapt out of bed, and I was staring at the wall. I saw something. I saw a goblin! I yelled. We turned on the light, but there was nothing there. The others started coming down from upstairs. Jordan, we're meant to be here on a relaxing spa weekend and you wake up screaming your head off at 6 a.m, said my friend, giggling. Sorry, I guess I must have had a nightmare, I said, laughing it off. I was still trying to put the horrific experience behind me when I headed home to Hinckley, Leicestershire. Oh God, well that's pretty horrific as well. That night my boyfriend looked alarmed when he saw what my friend had posted in the group chat. "What's this about you being woken up with a goblin?" Well, the cat's away. I mean, what do you think happens on these girly weekends, man? Everyone likes to be woken up that way, don't they? "What's this about a goblin?" So I told him the full story. "I know it sounds crazy, but I'm sure I was awake," I said. "Maybe you just fell back to sleep," he said. "Maybe you just fell back asleep," he suggested. These limited imagination Leicestershire people have, you know. "Maybe you just fell back asleep, duck." From then on, I did my best to put the whole thing out of my mind, but I couldn't shake a strange feeling that I was being followed. Everywhere I went, I'd catch glimpses of something in the corner of my eye. Whatever it was no more than knee height. And meanwhile, things started to go missing round the house and showing up in weird places. My phone turned up in the fridge. My toothbrush turned up in the kitchen bin. My bra and knickers turned up on my boyfriend. You just know something like that's going on, don't you? My neatly folded laundry was pushed onto the floor more than once. Pictures would fall off the wall as I walked past. One afternoon, I left my upstairs office to answer the front door, and when I came back up, every single plug in the room had been pulled from the socket. You know what? This isn't a goblin, is it? It's just a complete... I'm sorry, but poor Jordan. I started to think I was losing my mind. It sounds mad, but I just can't stop thinking about what I saw at the spa. I told my mum. Something's been following me. Either that or I'm doing it to myself. One night, a few months after the trip, I took my dog out for a wee in the garden. Jordan, just use the toilet like a normal person. It was late, and our small garden was illuminated by the light from the windows. A sudden movement by the back wall. Oh, she went out for a poo as well. And then a rain of peanuts fell at my feet. What? Confused, I looked up at the little table at the rear of the garden where we often left nuts for the birds. Squinting into the black, I saw a stubby, muscular arm reaching up to grab another handful. Its skin was grey and shiny, and I recognised it instantly. It was the goblin. 5 seconds later, I was back in the kitchen with the door locked, dog under my arm, and then I fled upstairs to bed and curled up under the covers. Well, no one can blame you, Jordan. It can't be nice having a goblin chuck its nuts over you. What can cause hallucinations? I typed frantically into Google. The answers were horrifying, from psychosis to brain aneurysms. Yet I had none of the other symptoms. Plus I had a gut feeling. Well, that could be a symptom. I had a gut feeling that something was following me. Not long after, my boyfriend and I saw a shop dedicated to witchcraft and the occult. I'd never been in it before, but wondered if they could somehow help. "Stay here. I'll just be a minute," I told my boyfriend. Inside, I noticed that a woman was looking at me, and moments later, she came over. I don't mean to alarm you, Duck," she said gently, "but you've got something called low vibrational spiritual entity attached to you." I love that. I don't mean to alarm you, but you need to get rid of it, Duck. First thing you need to do is stop talking about it, because that feeds it. Next, you need to light a white candle in your home, like the ones we sell here in the shop that cost $45.99. And then you need to tell this thing to leave. Then you open your windows and doors, and you'll experience instant relief. Well, who doesn't want instant relief? Okay, thanks, I replied. I was too shocked to say anything else. Was I really going to do some weird, crazy ritual? I worried. It's not that weird, Jordan, is it? Lighting a candle and opening your window. Pretty okay, really. Not like the worst thing I've heard of. Then a few nights later, I was relaxing in the bath when my dog came in. "We'll have dinner in a minute," I told her. "Oh," joins them for dinner, the dog does. "We're having Winnerlock Prime tonight, darling. It's nice when we eat together as a family. We'll have dinner in a minute." But when I looked over, there was nothing there. Whatever I'd seen, it hadn't been my dog. Fear prickled all over me. That's it, I thought, I'm doing that ritual. I looked up low vibration spiritual entity online, and it confirmed what I feared to be true. You're an idiot. No, it confirmed what the woman in the shop had told me. After a bit of searching, I found some verses to read out. One night, when my partner was out, I put my dog in the garden and lit a candle. "I fill my life with love and light," I began reciting the verse. "I fill my life with love and light. Lord Almighty, what a load of No, it doesn't say that. It says, I welcome only positive things. Anything negative needs to leave." And after that, her boyfriend never came back again. No. She opened all the doors and windows. The woman had been right. She felt an overwhelming sense of relief. Heeding her warning, I didn't talk to anyone about what had happened, and thankfully all the weird occurrences stopped entirely, as did the constant sense that I was being followed. Now it's 3 years on, it feels safe to share my experience. Looking back, I don't think whatever it was had evil intentions exactly. It felt more mischievous than anything else. But I'm glad it's gone. Okay, well that was pretty rubbish. Let's see what Melissa Amos has to say. She's 42. "I don't believe in spirits. I didn't believe in spirits until the radio tuned me into the afterlife. My boss came over, gesturing to the 2 bright pink smart cars that had been sitting in the corner of the showroom where I worked, gathering dust. Oh, that's a lowly job, isn't it? Gathering dust. "There's a bottle of pink bubbly for anyone who sells one of them 2 cars, said the boss. In his dreams. That's Melissa thinking that. The cars had remained unsold for months, until that very afternoon a customer walked in. "I'll take both of them," she said. "No," she said, "I want to buy a pink smart car." And just like that, it was sold. Weird things like that had been happening to me for as long as I could remember, but I usually just put them down to coincidence. Right, so because the boss had said pink bubbly, a bubbly woman came in and bought the car. Got it. It stirred something inside me, so I began reading books on all things spooky. My favourite was one on spirit guides, which I read in the garden one day. "Spirit guide, if you are here, give me a really obvious sign so I know it's you," I said out loud, only half serious. Suddenly the radio in the house came on at full blast, playing Spirit in the Sky. But I was the only one at home. As I ran inside to switch it off, I was shaking as much as the house. Oh, because of the loud music. Maybe there's something in this after all, I thought. Amazed, I began asking for more signs to see if other things, such as angels, were real. "Give me a sign like the last one," I called. Minutes later, I jumped in the car to drive to my mum's, when suddenly a song came on the radio, and I listened in shock. It was "There Must Be an Angel Playing With My Heart" by Eurythmics. That moment made me a believer. So when I heard a weird voice one afternoon at work, I paid attention. "You need to leave," it whispered. "Leave?" I said. A song came on the radio. Since you gotta go, oh, you'd better go now. Go now? And do what? I said. There might be a job in the city. So many thoughts raced through my mind. True, I didn't like being chief dust gatherer at the showroom. The grueling 55-hour weeks left no time for anything else, but it seemed so drastic. That split second, a song came on the bedside radio. You got a fast car. Is it fast enough so we can fly away? Still gotta make a decision. Live tonight or live or die this way. A weird tingle came over me. I knew the song was a sign telling me to leave my job selling cars before it was too late. So much to everyone's surprise, I swiftly handed in my notice. It seemed mad, but I opened the local paper, and a job ad stared me right in the face. It was a mentoring job in the same industry, the dust industry. Not quite my dream job, but the money wasn't bad. So I applied, knowing that Spirit must have lined it up for me. And sure enough, I got the job. In fact, it turned out to be the perfect job for me. It was fewer hours, which gave me time in the evenings to focus on my spiritual hobbies. I took courses in angels, meditation and crystal healing, and I joined a mediumship circle and discovered a natural ability to connect with spirit whenever I wanted. Weirdly, work also paid for me to do a course in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which is about how thoughts can influence behaviours. I set up my spiritual business where I taught others how to change their lives by waiting for synchronicities from spirits and angels, just like happened to me. And weird things still happen to me. The other day I was walking with my kids, Max, Kai and Kobe, to school, and feeling tired, stressed, and a bit blocked. What does she mean by that? Like, constipated. Just then a van drove by, playing a song on the radio. It was Let It Go. No, it wasn't. It was Salt and Pepper, Push It. As I had to run straight to the toilet. No, it wasn't. It was, I know what it was. It was Drop It Like It's Hot by Snoop Dogg. I'm getting into this now. Ring of Fire. You can leave your own songs for Melissa's constipation in the comments. No, a van drove past us with Clear Channel written on the side. Clear Channel. I knew straight away that it was a message from Spirit, assuring me that I knew straight away it was a message from Spirit, assuring me that my channel was clearing. I've literally no idea what's going on in this story now. As if to make sure I'd seen it, the van turned around and drove past me again. Clear Channel. And I promptly shat myself. We crossed the road and it parked up at the bus stop and the door opened and the driver stumbled out looking sad. Realising the spirits had crossed our paths to give each other comfort, I said hi and flashed him. I said hi and flashed him my biggest smile, and that instantly cheered him up. Now that I speak to spirits directly, I don't rely so much on them for signs. That said, I always keep the radio close by. You never know when it might have something important to tell you. Well, it should be playing Radio Bloody Gaga in your case, Melissa. She's got a book to sell on Amazon. They often have something to sell nowadays. It's not as pure as it used to be, this magazine. What's next? Outed by his aura. I'd always been a psychic. Oh no, not another one. But I'd never had a vision like this one. Surely it couldn't be true. By Shaka Lish. Boom shakalaka. As I looked up from the microphone, I took in the crowd gathering in the bar. Then my eyes locked on a man who was sitting at one of the tables. He was tapping along to the music and smiling, and I thought, he's a good-looking guy. When I'd finished my set on stage, he came over and introduced himself. "Hi, I'm Jay," he said. "Oh, there's a red flag, isn't it? Never trust people who just call themselves Jay." We got chatting, and I was struck by his big personality and his sense of humour. From then on, we became friends. Oh, mate, you've been friend-zoned. I told Jay all about my work as a singer and about my passion. I'm a psychic, I told him. I do tarot readings, Reiki, massage, yoga, that kind of thing. I'd had a spiritual awakening in my late 20s and found myself drawn to the psychic world. I was used to people being sceptical about it, but Jay wasn't judgmental. No, Jay wouldn't judge, would he? Jay's not the judgy type. It's not really my thing, he said, but I'd be happy to let you practice on me. He'll have meant the massage bit, won't he? We know, don't we, what Jay's all about. We know how these men think. As I got to know Jay better, I realised that Jay had a special way about him. Still hasn't told you his first name, though, has he? Right? Just Jay. Mysterious Jay. Any night out with Jay was fun, and such a laugh, such a good laugh, you know. And he also made me feel safe. And about after a year, our friendship blossomed into romance. It was strange because we were complete opposites, but we just worked. He'd come to my yoga classes with me, and I'd go to football with him. And we loved nothing better than having a roast in our favourite pub. In fact, that was my idea of a perfect day, and we had a special roast on Valentine's. I'll bet you did. Of course, sometimes we had our silly little tiffs, but I thought we were happy. One day, however, something unusual happened. Jay was feeling stressed after work. Do you remember on the radio that Simon Bates's Our Tune? I should be playing the Romeo and Juliet music, but I'd get copyrighted. But this would fit right in. Da 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 da. Jay came home feeling stressed after work. Must have been a grey day for Jay if he felt that way. Jay was feeling stressed after work. So I said, "Why don't I massage your head to help you relax?" We all remember the first time someone said that to us, don't we, eh? She means Reiki, of course. "Why don't I give you a bit of Reiki?" I sat him down on the floor with his legs crossed and his eyes closed. I'm glad it wasn't the other way around. Then I started running my hands over his shoulders and his head and his chest. He fell asleep, which is very common in Reiki practice. That's why we usually follow it with a bit of wakey. Meanwhile, I let myself become absorbed in the healing, connecting with Jay's aura. And as I did so, I was hit with a vision, clear as day. I saw a woman. She had dark brown hair and was leaning against a door frame. She looked wholesome and beautiful. Almost as soon as the image appeared, however, it just vanished into thin air, and Jay started to stir. "Oh, thanks, babe," he said. "I feel much better now." "Oh, any time, babe," I replied. And then I said, I had a vision of a woman who was natural looking, with long dark hair. She was beautiful. I wondered if she was someone Jay knew, but he just shrugged and said, "It doesn't mean anything to me, babe." Oh no, do you think Jay's playing away? But no, I didn't think anything more of it. And a year went by, and one evening I was tucked up in bed with Jay asleep next to me, and I was scrolling on my phone when something popped up. Oh, Jay, not today. No, it was an email notification. It read, "Hi, hun, I hope you don't mind me emailing you. It was from a woman I didn't know, and she dropped a massive bombshell." Bit like Melissa in the last story. She'd written, I was in a relationship with Jay last year for about 6 months. I stared at my phone in shock. Jay and I had been a couple for well over a year. How could she have been in a relationship with him at the same time without me knowing? It didn't seem possible because I was a psychic, and I never predicted any of it. I needed to know what had happened, so I asked the woman if I could call her the following day, and she sent me a number. And I spent the whole night lying awake, tossing and turning, and I couldn't get my head round Jay cheating on me. We talked about getting married and having kids, and now I found out he's got this secret lover on the side. So the following morning, I waited until Jay had gone to work. Then I took a deep breath and punched the woman's number into my phone, and it connected to her WhatsApp. Oh, God, these stories. It connected to her WhatsApp, and her profile picture popped up, and she was beautiful, and she had long dark brown hair and a wholesome natural look. It was her. It was the woman from the vision that had appeared when I was rubbing Jay's head. I should have seen this coming, and then I thought I did see it coming because it was in the vision. And when I spoke to the woman, I told her about my relationship with Jay. I never suspected he was cheating, I said. I'm so sorry, she replied. He said you were his cousin. She was so apologetic. I saw your email on Jay's WhatsApp, she told me. Because I'd run for Parliament as a member of the Green Party not long before, and Jay had used me flyer as his profile picture. Weird. How did you two meet? I asked. Jay was outgoing, so I expected her to say that they'd met on a night out, but I was in for a shock. It was on a dating app. It turned out Jay had set up the profile the morning after our Valentine's Day roast. He'd decided to go looking for a bit on the side. Oh, Jay. Extra stuffing balls. He'd even written in his profile that he never lied. I thought, oh, the irony. At first I didn't know what to do. I was hurt, of course, but I wondered if we could save our relationship. So I decided to wait and call Jay to confront him the next day. The next morning I rang him and came right out with it. Do you have anything to tell me about seeing another woman? I asked. No, he replied without missing a beat. What are you on about, babe? He was so calm it was infuriating. I suspected he was waiting to see how much I knew before attempting to defend himself. So I told him everything I knew. All 50 state capitals, prime numbers between 1 and 100, all the James Bond films in chronological order. It wasn't a relationship, babe, Jay said, matter-of-factly. We never had proper sex. Just a bit of slap and tickle, Just felt each other up a few times. We never had proper sex. Just felt each other up a few times. But she was seeing her, and it was intimate, I went on. Babe, she meant nothing to me, he said. I couldn't believe he was being so casual. But when his other woman sent me text between the two of them, and there was even an explicit photo he'd sent from our bed, and I knew there was no going back then. Jay was no longer the man I'd fallen in love with. No, he was a mockingjay. It's over, I told him. It's over. It took me a while to get over Jay, but slowly I've started to rebuild my life. Now I'm more myself than I've ever been. I've continued to delve deeper into the world of yoga and to develop my psychic skills. Now I'm predicting a much happier future for myself without Jay. Well, fair enough. Now, take a break. Fate and Fortune is a journalistic bastion, as we've established. So they offer They do offer Jay right to reply at the end of the piece. And it says at the bottom, Jay told take a break. Can you imagine them door stopping him, knocking on his front door and like waving a microphone in his face? What have you got to say? What have you got to say about these allegations? I'm from the press. I'm from Take a Break, Fate or Fortune. What have you got to say about these allegations? Shaka believed there was another woman because of the vision. I don't feel bad, though, about the cheating, because nothing really happened, to be honest. We never even had proper sex. It was just touching downstairs, There was nothing else going on, It was just a bit of fun, really, We weren't really doing anything, we weren't like, anyway, that's enough of that. Right, let's find something scary. It's Halloween. And now here's one from the archive. So, how about this one by David Harrison, 66. Beware the Phantom Flusher. Now there's a picture of a toilet with the lid up and a spooky light coming out from it under the bowl. And it says, helpfully, this is a library image. So just in case you were worried it was the actual haunted toilet. No. Let's hear what David has to say for himself then. Let's do a voice for David. Clambering into bed, I pulled up the duvet. We've all done that before. It was my first night in the first floor flat, which I'd rented whilst waiting for my wife to arrive from South Africa. What do we think? Mail order bride? Well, why do you have to rent a flat when you're waiting for your wife to arrive? Maybe we'll find out. So the building was very old, and the occupant downstairs had recently moved out, so I was there completely alone. Or so I thought. At 3 a.m. I stirred to the sound of running water. Time to invest in a mattress, protector David. Is something leaking? I thought, getting out of bed and wandering the flat, but I found nothing. The next night I woke at the same time to what sounded like a toilet flushing in the flat downstairs. Over the next few weeks the flushing sound continued each morning at 3 a.m. Like clockwork. That's like me actually, I'm very regular. Every morning without fail I go to the toilet at 5 a.m. Trouble is I don't wake up until 7. Old joke, sorry. There's something going on with the flat downstairs' toilet, I told the letting agent. Thinking it was faulty plumbing, or squatters, we investigated together. We scoured the windows, doors and pipes, looking for signs of forced entry or leaking pipes. Nothing. My friend Karen came to stay with her gorgeous laid-back chocolate Labrador. Lovely. And we talked about the freaky flushing. I like how he's in this flat waiting for his wife and Karen just moves in. Dave's a bit of a player, don't you think? Later I was falling asleep when I heard a low growl from the living room. Probably Karen. Oh, no, where the dog was sleeping. So where's Karen sleeping? This gets more suspicious by the minute. The growling got louder, and I heard paws scratching across the floor and a thud as she started rushing around. Suddenly I heard a thud as she began racing around the living room, like she was chasing something. It was totally out of character, because she was normally laid back, you see. Something's clearly upsetting her, I thought. Karen spent a good 20 minutes calming her down. Then at 3 a.m, she burst into my room. "I can hear the flushing," she said. I'd become so used to it, I had barely stirred. The next morning I woke to an unpleasant smell. "She's never done that before. I'm so sorry," said Karen, blaming the dog. said Karen, as she got to work clearing up the little accident the dog had left on the floor. Something must have spooked her, I said. And she wasn't the only one. Too scared to stay in the flat on my own, I moved into Karen's. Oh, here we go. In the meantime, a young couple moved into the downstairs flat. When my wife finally arrived from South Africa, I moved back in. I didn't tell her about the spooky happenings because I didn't want to worry her. Well, did you tell her about Karen, Dave, or would that worry her too? But with the new occupants living downstairs, the flushing had stopped. They're obviously the kind to let it mellow. But then one weekend, the neighbours went away for the weekend. That night, the flushing started again. What's that noise? Oh, hang on, I'm going to try a South African accent. Diplomatic immunity, Riggs. What's that noise? My wife said, stirring in the bed next to me. I think she was making porridge. Staring in the bed next to me. That's when I finally came clean about the dreaded 3 a.m. flusher. I don't think I want to stay here, she said. I didn't either. Sadly, things didn't work out with my wife. Tell surprise. And within a few months, she'd moved back to South Africa. Well, I hope you got your money back, Dave. Knowing my neighbours were also due to move out soon, I moved back to Karen's. Of course you did. There was no way I was staying there with that spirit in the loo. That's the end of that story, by the way. Brilliant. Did you think there was something more interesting in that story? I really want to know what was going on with...
And now here's one of the all-time classics. Stalked by a Squirrel.
Well, it's all here in the title, really.
Sent in by Jean Vine, aged 71. When I moved into my new home, it says, I had no idea it came with a scary flatmate. So, scary, okay? This is your trigger warning, folks. As I unpacked my last cardboard box, I let out a sigh of relief and felt an immense sense of satisfaction. Phew, all done, I said to myself. Newly divorced, I'd just rented myself a ground floor flat. I'd been looking to rent for a while and had been on a few viewings, but when I saw this flat, I knew I had to have it. Set in an ancient woodland, it was a ground floor flat, surrounded by organic wild strawberries. Did you get that? Organic. I don't want you to think she was in the fruit aisle at Sainsbury's with punnets everywhere. These strawberries were literally growing in the ground. It was perfect for me. In a past life, it had been a Georgian coaching inn, but had lain empty for some time. The rent was cheap, so I guess the landlord was keen to get someone in. You can already see where this is going, can't you? If something's too good to be true and all that, cheap rent, abundance of organic strawberries, there must be a catch. As soon as I moved in, I set about cleaning it, as it had a bit of a damp smell, but nothing some cleaning products and a sponge couldn't fix. Strawberry sponge. Shortly after I'd settled in and made the place feel like home, I was in bed one night when I was awoken by a strange noise. Poor Jean, one too many organic strawberries. No, I could hear this constant scratching at my bedroom window, but I brushed it off as just birds and went back to sleep. Then, another night, when I was watching TV, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something outside my patio door. A squirrel. Just sitting there it was, with its nose pressed up against the door, running its claws up and down the glass. Oh, you must be hungry. Let me see what I've got for you, I said as I started looking through my cupboards. Oh, Jean, this is a terrible mistake. You live in a strawberry field. It's not going to starve. Here you go, I said, as I gingerly placed some peanuts and bits of toasted bun on the ground nearby. Did you hear that? Toasted bun? She's already cooking for the damn thing. Why not whip it up a beef Wellington and sherry trifle for afters? Toasted bun. Imagine the squirrel going,
It's a bit dry on its own, love. Cup of tea would wash it down nice.
Anyway, it was all that I had, and as he gobbled it up, I hoped he'd be satisfied with my offering. He must have been, because over the course of the next few months, this squirrel scratched at my windows day and night, wanting more food. Well, we tried to warn you, Jean. This was going to happen. No matter what I gave him, it never seemed enough. Maybe it wants to eat you. It might sound a bit silly, but as time went on, I found his intimidation tactics a bit scary. No, it doesn't sound silly at all, honest. I started drawing the curtains, pretending not to be home, but it didn't work. He just scratched louder and louder.
I know you're in there, Jean. And I know you've got food. Because I saw the card over here this morning. So open up, you hear me? I want a Sunday dinner. With all the trimmings. And spotted dick for pudding.
Eventually, I became too scared to sit out in my garden in case the squirrel jumped on the patio table. I stopped opening my window too, for fear of it creeping into the flat. You know what I like about you, Jean? Intimidation tactics.
You know what I like about you, Jean? You got good taste. You got some lovely ornaments in here. Be a shame if anything got broken. Now make me a sandwich.
Well, after living there for about a year, I'd had enough. The stalking squirrel became too much, and I moved out. Looking back, I wonder if this was the reason the flat was empty for so long. Perhaps he was the reincarnation of someone who used to live there. Yes, that's the most plausible explanation, Jean. He's the reincarnation of somebody who used to live there, and that's why he was always hanging around. Astonishingly, that story ends there. At the end, it says we pay up to £150 for these stories. Unbelievable. £150 for that.
And now here's a memorable story about a woman taunted by tarot.
Goodness me, well, that's terrifying. Let's see what else we've got. This one is called Tarot of Terror. A deck of fortune-telling cards unleashed chaos on my poor family by Sean Gregory, aged 38, a youngster. Unpacking the shopping bags, my husband, Steve, took out carrots, pasta, tinfoil, corned beef, some drawing pins, custard, cheese, triangles, and a random pack of tarot cards. "Have you been up the middle aisle again?" I said. You asked for a treat," he replied. "Jesus Christ, Steve, she meant a galaxy bar or something, not a bloody pack of tarot cards, man, you useless great oaf." Enjoy," he said. Steve. Leafing through the instruction booklet, I felt a spark of excitement. Ooh, maybe Steve wasn't barking up the wrong tree after all. Tonight could be the night. A spark of excitement, imagining myself giving readings to friends and everyone marvelling at my mystical powers. But the instructions were long and complicated. "I'll just do it by intuition," I said. "After all, how hard can it be?" The hubris. I can't bear it. So the following weekend, Steve and I went away to a cottage with our daughter Eva, 6, and 4-year-old George. One evening, friends came to join us, and as we settled in the living room with a bottle of wine, I seized the moment. Car keys in the bowl, everyone. No, I reached into my bag and whipped out the tarot cards. Ta-da, I said, I'm going to predict. Ta-da, I said, I'm going to predict your futures. I started laying out the cards. Do you know how to do this? My friend Jess asked. Not really, I replied, but it'll be fun, won't it? Who's first? I bet they're used to Sian acting like this when she's had a few wines. One by one, I picked cards for everyone and read their meanings from the booklet. Then halfway through, Jess's husband, Kieran, suddenly shouted, Hey, what's happening to my trousers? Oh, good grief, control yourself, Kieran. One of his legs had ripped in half, one of his trouser legs, had ripped in half while he was just sitting there. When it was time for Kieran's reading, I pulled out a card and consulted my booklet. The Hanged Man, I read. One leg is out. Everyone looked at his ripped trousers and laughed. One leg is out. What does that mean? Oh, right. So one leg is tied to a tree and the other's free. Okay, right. So that's what that means. Jess said, maybe you do have the gift after all. That night, I tossed the tarot cards onto the sideboard and went to bed. Back at work, I told everyone my tarot story. My colleague Joe asked, Did you cleanse your box first? Bit personal, Joe. Do we have to get HR involved again? No, he said. No, I said. No, he said. You're supposed to cleanse the pack so there's no negative energy. It's too late now, I said, but I'm sure it'll be fine. A few days later, we were sitting in our family car at a petrol station when I saw a blue car reversing towards us, and it wasn't stopping. Steve, I said, I think she's going to... There was a loud bang as the car hit us. I turned to the children in the back and asked, Is everyone okay? Eva was crying from the shock, but thankfully they were both unharmed. The next day I took them to the park to cheer them up. Before long they were happily playing, the accident forgotten. Suddenly I heard a cry. George was lying in the wood chip holding his foot. He'd fallen off the climbing frame. He couldn't stand up, so I took him to the walking centre. Bit cruel. To him it was a can't walk in station. As we sat there for 4 hours, I felt a familiar pain. It is boring in the hospital, isn't it? No, it was a familiar pain. The plastic chair was triggering my chronic pelvic condition. Oh no. It turned out that George had sprained the top of his foot, but as I carried him out of the hospital, I felt a sharp pain shoot through my lower half. My pelvis had given out. The next day I was in too much pain to go into work, so I had to join a meeting online instead. Joe appeared on the screen and asked, Did you have a nice weekend? Well, I said, someone crashed into the car, George sprained his foot, and my pelvis is gone, so I can't walk. Joe gasped. Maybe it's the cards, he said. You've had nothing but bad luck since those. I dismissed the situation. How could a pack of discounted cards from the supermarket affect my life? I didn't even know how to use them. Don't worry, Joe told me. They say bad luck comes in threes. I hope so. I'd had 3 disasters already, and I wasn't in the mood for another. As the week passed, George and I began to heal, and we all looked forward to our upcoming trip to the Harry Potter studios. Then 2 days before, a vomiting bug hit the house. Only Eva was unaffected. On the big day, we all felt awful, but dragged ourselves out, exhausted. As we walked inside and joined the front of the crowd, waiting excitedly outside Hogwarts, I perked up. The orchestral music swelled, and the doors were pushed open to reveal the great hall. The crowd gasped in delight, and Eva vomited on the floor. And then everyone else started vomiting until the whole great hall was awash with sick. And we ran back to the car, Eva still vomiting violently into a plastic bag. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, it's so good. Next weekend, I made a roast dinner. This has really tickled me, I don't know why. I cooked some roast potatoes until they were nice and crispy. Then I put the red hot glass tray on it. I put the red hot glass. There's a picture of her hand. I put the red hot glass tray on the rack next to the sink. And it slid and fell. And instinctively I reached out to catch it. And pain seared through my hand. I'm sorry, I've really got the giggles. Pain seared through my hand and I dropped the tray. But it was too late. It had already melted the skin off my fingers. Sorry, everybody. Oh dear. Oh, sorry. I went to A&E with my hand in a pan of water and was treated for second degree. It was treated for second degree burns. Come on, compose yourself. I was treated for second degree burns. This is terrible. The following day at work, Joe looked at my bandaged hand. He opened his mouth and I said, Don't! The coming weeks were chaos. The car failed its MOT. A gust of wind blew the glass out of our hallway door. The washing machine broke, and I had to clean out clothes in the bath with my one good hand. So much for bad luck coming in threes. Days later, I was in the kitchen making a cuppa when I felt something drip on my head. I looked up and saw water pouring through the ceiling. As I called for an emergency plumber, I thought of Joe's words. Maybe it's the cards. Was he right? I recalled the way I'd messed around with them. I hadn't respected them. I'd used them for entertainment purposes. Well, suddenly it didn't feel so funny anymore. Days passed. Our car was vandalised. Steve's vasectomy was botched and he ended up losing his penis. And even our black cat, who was usually affectionate, refused to come near me. Then, the final straw. We were all playing in the garden when a thorn got stuck in George's foot. Bloody hell. He was screaming in pain, but it was too deep to remove. After multiple hospital trips, even doctors couldn't remove it. His foot swelled to the size of an elephant's foot, and he couldn't walk. One morning he was on the sofa when, all of a sudden, yellow pus oozed out, along with a thorn the size of my thumbnail. Sorry, listeners. There's all this vomit and pus. It's disgusting. I'd had enough. I got out my phone and Googled ways to cleanse tarot cards. I had to try. Minutes later, I'd found a solution. Moonlight, I said. That's it. That evening, I took the cards out into the garden and laid them on the grass. The moon hung low in the sky, and I prayed it would somehow work its magic. The next day, George got out of bed and walked across the hallway, normally, on both feet. And when we went downstairs for breakfast, the cat rubbed against my legs for the first time in months. Best of all, days passed without another disaster. I hope that's the end of it. Me too, Sean. God's sake, the story's been going on for ages. I've learned my lesson when it comes to messing with things I don't understand. I'll never touch those tarot cards again. Well, I should think not, Sean, you silly goose.
Well, I do hope you enjoyed that. No! And until next time, sweet dreams. And, happy Halloween.